Now, just to let everyone know in regards to this situation, Warner Brothers want to sell themselves again, and they're playing hard to get once again. Okay, courtesy of, who is this, Pirate Nation, who might be a catfish or a catfisher in the past. I don't know. I heard on the grapevine somewhere that Pirate Nation first started out pretending to be an attractive woman on X. I really don't know. Too much about that. But courtesy of Pirate Nation, quote, the Saudi Arabian PIF, which is short for something, I think it's Public Investment Fund, has made a tentative offer of $70 billion to acquire Warner Brothers. So, first thoughts on this, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to start off with Jose and work our way across the panel, because my father just called me. So
$70 billion to acquire Warner Brothers. And the fun thing about this is a lot of people sort of look at this and they go, oh, well, the Saudis, they're going to cover up the women. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. If you're paying attention, Saudi Arabia has already, basically, the Saudi Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who just had a meeting with Trump, I think, yesterday. They purchased SNK, which are the company that makes like Fatal Fury, Art of Fighting, Samurai Showdown. They've purchased EVO, the fighting game tournament. They've purchased Electronic Arts, a controlling stake in that. And now they're going for WB, which would give them the umbrella of basically Warner Brothers, Discovery, HBO Max, WB Games. So they have control of like Mortal Kombat. They would have control of all the WB Game Studios sort of put out there. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that also puts them in control of like a lot of like the Nickelodeon properties, but I could be wrong on that. But also puts them in control of, like stuff like Game of Thrones and whatnot as far as television rights, Harry Potter. So the thing is that with the Saudis picking this up, we could see a big cultural shift. There's even like people within like the Saudi, sort of sphere of influence that want to get rid of James Gunn and bring back Snyder and bring back the Snyder, universe, the Snyderverse of DC Comics, because they don't like what James Gunn is doing. There's going to have a lot of implications if this happens. And, to the Saudis, it's a drop in the bucket. Apparently, if anyone's got more money than that other Middle Eastern country that gives you $7,000 to say nice things about them, it's the Saudis. So this is going to be interesting to watch, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And also the Saudi prince, it should be noted that he's trying to position himself as, no, I'm not like my dad. I'm not like my granddad. I like these things that y'all like. And it's, he's positioning himself as sort of, trying to be in an allyship with the West, and that's
he's a pragmatist.
Yes,
and that's what I appreciate about this newer regime in Saudi Arabia, is that they're far more pragmatic than their older counterparts, their original counterparts. And look, folks, when you're in between Israel and Iran, you got to be pragmatic, okay, for your own sake, if nothing else.
Look, MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, he likes titties, man, and that's why I like Mohammed bin Salman. When he bought Evo and all of the worst people in gaming decided that they're really mad about it, that made me happy. It made me so happy that my broke ass went and bought King of Fighters 15 and Fatal Fury City of the Wolves, bought some new content in Street Fighter 6. I was like, yo, I'm happy you bought Evo, because maybe I can start playing fighting games again. Now I don't have to deal with like furries and other assorted weirdos because they're going to be screaming or worried about being yeeted off of high places.
Yep.
So hey,
we need to point out, folks, and it's somehow paradoxical that the Middle East is getting more Western and the West is getting more Middle Eastern. It's very odd.
Switching roles.
Yeah, it's like we are switching roles. It's unbelievable in that respect. But what about you, Plamini? What do you make of the Saudi Arabian government, through their Public Investment Fund, making a tentative offer of $70 billion to acquire Warner Brothers?
So I can only go from what I personally know. And first of all, I don't think this is a bad thing, because I've seen that they, from what I personally follow, the sport that I'm most interested in is like the Formula One. and the
Yep.
things they've done in Formula One are quite amazing. So, if a DC universe has ever had a shot of making it, it's probably with this, because they have like a really like a big problem with continuing the things that they've started. So they would introduce a bunch of characters, never like go anywhere with them. They couldn't like put on like a string, even like 20 years ago, like when Christian Bale like finished his third movie, he said himself that he was never like invited to do another movie. So that's one of the missed shots. Then they fired. Then they fired like the guy that did the last Batman with like what's the guy called, Ben Affleck.
Mhm.
And I actually like that. Never went anywhere. Like they made a few movies, but they never had like a track record that proves that they can actually finish what they started. It's might due to like a poor box office performance. So I think like this like injection of money actually gives them a shot of finishing some of the things they are started. And even to me personally, it would be like fun to see like a Batman instead of like a fictional New York billionaire be actually like a fictional Saudi prince.
Oh,
But I don't think however fun would that be, I don't think that like that will ever happen, because the traditional Batman that I personally love has probably the best shot with someone who is looking at the DC throughout like the rose tinted glasses, because they're gonna make whatever that they make, it's probably gonna be like a safe bet. So they're not gonna like do something rational as we had chance of seeing. So I think this is actually good.
Well, look at this from an American perspective. Look at this from a European perspective. Look at this from a Western perspective, folks. Western entertainment is slowly but surely not becoming Western. Because let's think about this. Saudi Arabia, they're buying this as a national entity, so it will be government run. And Saudi Arabia's government is, in a sense, an absolute monarchy, but their absolute monarch is very old and doesn't want to run it anymore. So he lets his son do it, because they don't do abdications over there. The only way you abdicate is when you die. So effectively, folks, this is, if this goes through, because we all know what Warner Brothers are like. They're like, nah, they want to sell, but they want to sell for an insane price. Now, I heard that Paramount and Skydance have tried to put in a counteroffer of $71 billion just to F you, the Saudis. But let's face it, folks. The Saudi Arabians have a shit ton of resources. They have a lot of money, and they know what to do with it. And in the short to medium term, I think these franchises would be governed in a far better manner than they are currently.
Digny, we're going to have to get you another one of those avatars, but it's going to be in the Saudi outfit instead.
Yes.
You got to play both sides.
Yes. We have sold out to Saudi Arabia, folks, okay? But I think it's very important to point out that DC's biggest problem in this case is decades of inconsistency, especially in their movie franchises, which is a damn shame. It is a damn shame. But what about you, Byron? What do you make of the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund making an offer of $70 billion to acquire Warner Brothers?
I think it's potentially beneficial for many of the intellectual properties under the Warner heading, under their ownership, for a couple of reasons. Firstly, the upcoming crop of ruling classes, it would be, in Saudi Arabia, they are students of history. They have looked back at the early days of secular Islam, which was a broad brush across much of the Middle East, wherein they did not attempt to culturally enforce and indoctrinate everything about their religious creed into all things entertainment or scholarly. I imagine that they are going to look back at what worked to establish these brands and these intellectual properties and try to hearken back to them when they were successful, when they were culturally relevant, and they will say, you know what, that worked before, and it got eventually put into the hands of people who didn't understand or appreciate those intellectual properties and franchises. We can attempt to return to what was relevant, what worked, and what was profitable. Not only that, but what was culturally adhesive to those people who came into these franchises as fans, as customers, and we can try to rekindle that enchantment with these franchises, characters, stories, and what have you. I imagine that they will attempt to go back to that framework, which worked for so long until it got taken over by a bunch of people who didn't know or care what they were doing. They wanted to push their socio-political agendas instead. I do not foresee the upcoming crop of Saudi Arabian ruling folks in this PI or this fund letting that rot continue. So it could be beneficial for those franchises and intellectual properties to return to an effective, efficient, and much beloved framework. So it's potentially good that this would happen.